Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going down a rabbit hole that might just change how you think about intelligence itself. Get ready to explore the idea of collective intelligence. And no, we're not talking about your latest social media scroll.
Right. We're going way beyond the usual suspects like, ants and bees. We're diving into a paper suggesting this phenomenon is happening everywhere in nature at scales we rarely even consider.
We're talking cells, tissues, even entire organs exhibiting a kind of group smarts that might just blow your mind. This isn't just about individual cells doing their thing. It's a whole new way of looking at biology through the lens of collective problem solving.
Exactly. The paper lays out this concept called multi-scale competency architecture. Imagine, if you will, that life isn't just a matter of nested structures, cells within tissues within organs, but nested abilities.
Okay, let's unpack this. So you're saying each level of organization, from molecules to cells to tissues, isn't just following orders from some command center. They each have their own problem-solving skills.
Precisely. Think of it like this. You've got your individual cells, each a tiny specialist, carrying out metabolic tasks, building proteins, the essential but mundane work of staying alive. Then you zoom out. A level of cells come together to form tissues. Suddenly you have a whole new level of complexity, a whole new set of challenges.
And those challenges require a higher level of intelligence to solve, right? It's not just about each cell doing its own thing anymore. It's about coordinated action.
Exactly. Take this seemingly simple act of building your body. It's anything but simple. Cells have to differentiate, migrate, and self-organize with incredible precision. This paper argues that this kind of coordination, this ability to solve problems at a higher level of organization, is a form of collective intelligence.
And this collective intelligence isn't just about building bodies, is it? This paper dives into some really specific examples of how this plays out in everything from regeneration to even cancer.
Absolutely. Let's start with cancer. There was this fascinating study done with tadpoles. Researchers were looking at melanocytes, the cells that give our skin its pigment. They discovered that by manipulating the signaling environment of certain instructor cells, they could trigger a dramatic change in the entire melanocyte population.
So it's like these instructor cells were sending out a memo, and suddenly all the melanocytes got the same idea. What kind of change are we talking about here?
Think of it like this. Imagine a memo that says, "Okay, everyone, time to go a little rogue." The change wasn't just in a few individual cells, it was an all-or-nothing switch across the entire population. The melanocytes started over-proliferating, changed shape, and even started migrating to areas they shouldn't be. Essentially, they began mimicking the behavior of melanoma, an aggressive form of skin cancer.
So instead of just looking at individual rogue cells, this research suggests cancer could be a breakdown in communication, in the collective intelligence of the tissue.
Precisely. And that's a fundamentally different way of thinking about how cancer develops and how we might treat it.
It's pretty amazing to think that this kind of collective intelligence could be at play in something as complex as cancer. But this idea gets even wilder when you start talking about regeneration, right?
Absolutely. Regeneration is a prime example of collective intelligence in action. Take planarians, these incredible flatworms that can regenerate from almost any injury. You cut them in half, and they don't just heal the wound, they literally grow into two complete worms.
Yeah, it's like something out of a sci-fi movie, but you're saying there's a deeper level of coordination happening here, something beyond just basic cell division.
Right. It's not just about regrowing tissue, it's about making complex decisions about what to rebuild and where. The cells at the site of the injury have to figure out, collectively, whether they need to create a head or a tail, how to connect the new tissues, and how to ensure the regenerated parts are fully functional.
Okay, I need an example because this is blowing my mind. How do the cells in this tiny regenerating worm know how to build an entirely new body plan?
Imagine you cut a planarian in half. You now have two pieces, a head piece and a tail piece. The cells on the cut surface of the head piece, which were right next to the tail piece just moments before, will start growing a new tail.
Even though those exact cells were never part of a tail before, it's like they have a blueprint for the entire organism and they know exactly what part needs to be rebuilt.
That's the remarkable thing about this. It suggests that each cell has access to a kind of shared intelligence, a set of instructions that only make sense in the context of the whole.
So how does this work? Are we talking some kind of cellular telepathy here?
Not quite telepathy. But cells do communicate with each other in fascinating ways. They use a variety of signals, including chemical ones, mechanical forces, and even bioelectricity to coordinate their behavior and achieve that larger goal.
Bioelectricity, like actual electrical signals. Is there some kind of cellular internet going on in there that we're just now figuring out?
You got it. It's more evidence that our bodies are much more than just a collection of individual parts. Cells are in constant communication, sharing information and coordinating their actions through this intricate network of signals.
That's incredible. It really makes you appreciate the complexity that's happening every second just to keep us functioning. Okay, so we've got cells sending out memos, electrical signals zipping around. Is this collective intelligence at work anywhere else in nature?
Well, since you brought up the network analogy, let's talk about something even more intricate than regenerating flatworms, the development of your own face.
My face. What does collective intelligence have to do with my face?
Think about it. The human face is incredibly complex, with dozens of bones, muscles, nerves, all coming together in this precise three-dimensional structure. And it all starts with a group of cells called the neural crest.
Right, the neural crest. Those are the cells that migrate all over the developing embryo, eventually becoming parts of our face and nervous system, right?
Exactly. And their journey is a remarkable example of collective intelligence in action. These neural crest cells have to navigate a constantly changing environment, make decisions about where to go, and even compensate if some of their compatriots are missing.
It's like they're on a cellular road trip, except instead of a map and snacks, they've got this incredible internal guidance system and the ability to adapt to whatever detours come their way.
And the stakes are incredibly high. If they take a wrong turn or don't communicate effectively, it can lead to developmental disorders. It's a testament to the power of collective intelligence that this process goes right as often as it does.
You know, it makes me wonder if we could learn to harness this power, to use this understanding of collective intelligence to improve our own health and well-being.
That's a question that researchers are actively exploring, and there's already some really fascinating research happening in areas like regenerative medicine and cancer therapy.
This paper even suggests that the same tools and techniques we use to study the brain, like mapping neural networks, could be used to understand these other forms of collective intelligence.
That's right. The paper argues that many biological processes, from development to healing to even things like cancer, might be driven by principles of collective intelligence, rather than just by following a strict genetic blueprint.
So what you're saying is that our understanding of biology, of how our own bodies work, might need a major update.
Precisely. And this new understanding could have huge implications for medicine. Think about it. If we can figure out how to tap into and manipulate these collective intelligence systems, we might be able to develop entirely new ways to treat diseases and even regenerate damaged tissues and organs.
It's like opening up this whole new frontier in medicine. Imagine if we could jumpstart the body's own healing processes, not just treating symptoms, but actually regenerating damaged tissues, maybe even entire organs.
That's the dream. And it might be closer than we think. Scientists are already making incredible strides in this area.
It's mind-boggling to think that we might one day be able to harness the power of collective intelligence to heal ourselves. But this idea goes beyond even medicine, doesn't it? If we start thinking about all these other systems, cells, tissues, organs, as having a kind of intelligence, it really challenges our definition of what intelligence even is.
Absolutely. If a colony of ants can work together to build complex structures, if your own cells can communicate and coordinate to build and heal your body, even without a central brain directing every move, then maybe intelligence isn't just about having a big brain. Maybe it's a property that emerges from complex systems, from the interactions between individual parts.
So it's not just about the individual, it's about the collective. It's about how those individuals come together, communicate, and coordinate to achieve something greater than themselves. That's a pretty profound idea.
It is profound, and it raises all sorts of fascinating questions. For example, if intelligence isn't limited to brains, then where else might we find it? Could ecosystems, even the entire planet, exhibit forms of collective intelligence that we're just beginning to understand?
And if collectives of cells can exhibit this kind of problem-solving, decision-making behavior, what does that say about consciousness? Is it possible that consciousness itself is a form of emergent property, something that arises from the complex interactions within the brain rather than being located in a specific part of the brain?
It's a question that philosophers and scientists have been grappling with for centuries, and it seems like we're still a long way from a definitive answer. But these new insights into collective intelligence certainly add a fascinating new dimension to the debate.
It really makes you wonder if we've been looking at intelligence the wrong way all along. Maybe instead of searching for a single centralized source of intelligence, we should be looking at the networks, the connections, the ways that individual parts come together to create something greater than the sum of their parts.
It's a humbling thought, isn't it? To think that we're still just scratching the surface of understanding the true nature of intelligence, both in ourselves and in the world around us.
Well, on that note, I think we've given our listeners plenty to chew on today. Thanks for joining us for this incredible deep dive into the world of collective intelligence. We hope it's left you with a sense of wonder and maybe even a few new questions to ponder.
Until next time, keep exploring.